What's up, my fellow viewers? This is your host of the King Skygen official channel, and I'm making this video due to all the news we got less than a week ago from Capcom about the anticipated Monster Hunter Wilds. In this video, I'll be discussing everything we learned about the game and give my personal opinion on each piece of information, and finally look into any potential that Capcom might give Wilds through the last 6 months of its development, by looking into problems from previous titles and give some tips that could save the game from obscurity. So, I hope you're ready for this, because it will be a wild ride. Lastly, the devs have said that they will reveal another trailer for the game in the Summer Games Fest coming this weekend. So if you want my reaction to that trailer, please consider subscribing and turn on all channel notifications so you do not miss it. Without further ado, let's check everything we have thus far. Oh, and by the way, before we get started here, all this info comes from the official website of Monster Hunter Wilds. I will link it down below if you want to check it out for yourself. Let's get into it.
Each hunting locale features an environment with two dynamically changing identities. One in which the region is harsh and unforgiving, where ravenous monsters fight for limited resources, and another in which the region is vibrant and brimming with life. Changes in the environment also means changes for the monsters and wildlife that live there, so you'll be running into new surprises around every corner.
Well, I'm honestly curious on how Capcom will pull this off. I also wonder if this may mean, if underwater combat is part of the list of mechanics that they're hoping to add to this entry, that certain environments will experience heavy rain, causing the locale to flood just enough where you'll need to swim in order to traverse through its new environment. Well, until we get some new information, we'll have to figure that out. Eventually.
In the Forbidden Lands, you'll encounter not only herds of small monsters, some of the large monsters of the region may also form packs. Each group has its own place in the ecosystem, with its own unique movements and behaviors.
Alright, I just want to be honest here and say that this entry terrifies me to some degree. Just imagine yourself traveling through the Windward Plains, and in the distance, a whole pack of large monsters close behind pursuing you. Especially a monster that you may have had trouble hunting in the past centuries. I wouldn't want to live in a world where two billybobjho were chasing me throughout the world while also getting to scraps with one another. Just both of them just competing, just Alright, I'll stop.
As a member of the research commission charged with investigating the Forbidden Lands, the Windward Plains is the first new hunting locale you'll visit. The plains are a diverse region, filled with sandy deserts, swaying grasslands, twisting rock formations, and other natural wonders.
Okay. You're telling me that this is just one region of the whole game? Just one? Well, I mean, from what the trailers were showing, I assumed this was like the first 3 of the game's regions just somehow getting closer together. Well, but I guess I could suck 1,000 Oh my god. Alright, let's get back into it. This revelation, though, is making me more curious about the other 4 or 5 regions in the game that they haven't shown us yet, and what monsters that can inhabit them. Hopefully a few that can give us underwater combat. However, I can see how they may not be able to bring that back anytime soon. Maybe in the Master Rank expansion? Monster Hunter Wilds Odyssey, perhaps? I want to say that the design of the Seikret is absolutely amazing. The way it has a vast array of movements and all of its versatility make the Seikret a perfect companion for the wilds of, well, wilds. I also love how the name has some Egyptian vibes to it, and since Egypt is located in northern Africa, this does fit the African style that this game is probably going for. I just really love how they're finally giving us a monster that's not only ugly, but unique. I originally called these creatures rat bears when I first saw them in the reveal trailer, but I looked closer to the Big Mama from the first trailer, and I noticed that they looked more like lions rather than rats or bears, which speaks volume on the African aesthetic of wilds. I just love it. I love it so much, and can't wait to add the Doshaguma in my monster trophy room. Man, I also love this monster to bits, even though IGN posted an article that spoiled this monster for me. Thanks a lot, IGN! I noticed that its design is very similar to the Beelzebufo, a prehistoric frog, and even though the animal's remains were found in Madagascar, it still implies the African aesthetic here, so we're sticking with that. I also love how it uses its large tongue to spread its saliva on its body so stones can stick to it, basically giving this creature an extra layer of armor. I wouldn't be surprised that the arms may be the monster's weak spot due to this mechanic, but I'll just have to wait for the game to come out and see for myself. Okay, I may not be the only person who is concerned for the multiplayer Monster Hunter Wilds. Sure, I am excited to play this game with my friends, but I also remember Monster Hunter World and how it handled its multiplayer. The reason why I'm saying this is because, in my opinion, the multiplayer was garbage. But not completely. And I want to tell you why, so let's get into that. The multiplayer in the moment was absolutely amazing. Just getting on a random quest, running to the monster, and then beating the ever-loving shit out of it until it dies. Or you capture it. Simple, yet effective. However, when you want to play through the story with your friends, that is what I'm concerned about the most. Especially when you both started your first playthrough at the same time. That being, you can't join a friend in a quest until they find and complete the cutscene. You can't skip it either. So imagine you both do the same assignment, you both complete the cutscene, and then you'll need to leave your quest, wait for Astera to load, get into their assignment, and then you can join your friend. That is when they complete the cutscene as well. So you have around 3 to 5 minutes or longer until you two can play the same assignment together. And knowing all this, I could tell why some people stopped playing Monster Hunter World after their first playthrough. However, with the release being 6 months away, here is an idea or two on how to improve on this aspect for Monster Hunter Wilds. And they are very, somewhat simple fixes. First, allow players to join assignments from the get-go, and give them the ability to unanimously vote on whether to skip the cutscene or not. And when the cutscene is over, they can spawn back to their original position so they can continue the quest without slowing down the gameplay loop. And that's pretty much it. These simple changes will allow players to play the story quests together, and the thing is, you don't even need to change the cutscenes in any way. Like, look at the way Rise did it. But even then, Rise didn't really... only had like 4-person lobbies instead of 16, so there's that going for you. I know I mentioned underwater combat a few times throughout the video, but I want to leave an entire section to talk about it here, because I want to admit that despite how much I want underwater combat to return, there are some problems with this mechanic that I think I could solve. And let's start off with those problems. Playing Monster Hunter Tri again after so many years has given me a whole new perspective on underwater combat, plus a few videos discussing the topic, which will be linked down below. During Tri's development, Capcom had to cut the amount of monsters by 50 to 75% just to fit underwater levels in the first place. And despite that, the main problem is the combat. It feels slow and janky in some places, not to mention that only certain weapons have an advantage while using them underwater, while using anything else is pretty much suicide. The obvious way to deal with this issue is to add moves to the weapons that needed them, including, but not excluded to, every type of bowgun, sword and shield, and sometimes longsword. And the thing is, these lists of weapons are basically subjective. Like, there will be some people who will be able to master the bowgun, sword and shield, and longsword in underwater combat, and there are some, like me, who don't. So that's pretty much up to you, and that's based on your experiences if you ever played Tri or 3 Ultimate. Which, I played mostly 3 Ultimate, but I do remember Tri the most. Or is it the other way around? I have no idea. But the thing is, there is a more unique way that Capcom could fix this issue, and that is to not add combat at all. Think about it. Similar to Horizon Forbidden West, leaving combat out of the underwater sections will leave the player more vulnerable to potential danger of the many leviathans and piscine wyverns that mainly inhabit the waters. This only leaves you with your traps and bombs to keep the monster at bay to allow yourself some time to escape. I think this mechanic could not only give some forgotten monsters some time to shine, but also give some time for the developers to figure out how underwater combat can work. Or, at the very least, make it more balanced. I like to take a look at the elephant in the room about the recent weapon design decisions made by the Monster Hunter team. But first, I like to appreciate the weapon design from the older titles just to show you what I'm talking about. Every weapon from each monster has at the very least some form of inspiration from the look, shape, behavior, and biology of the monster whose parts you use to craft that weapon. Every design back in the old days also had some form of purpose behind it, even some weapons that are almost mythical in a certain way. Let me give you one example, Brachydios. Every one of its weapons from 3 Ultimate was perfectly crafted to have Brachydios in mind, showing the player what they have accomplished from hours of hunting the same monster, and getting all the necessary parts, and crafting not only some sweet looking armor, and weapons that not only looked cool, but have the added benefit of the slime debuff that basically became the blast ailment today. However, there is a problem with how Monster Hunter World treats its weapons. Alright, bring in the elephant. Wait, hold on a second. What the fuck is that? No, don't try and hide it. I can see, and everyone else can too. Oh my god, you're serious. These are not the dual blades of Brachydios. This looks like what a beginner designer would create, because not only does it lack inspiration for the monster that is supposed to be hunted for that weapon, but instead they use the basic formula for most of Monster Hunter World's weapons. Like, just look at this design. It looks bland. Look, I know the devs wanted a more natural look for the weapons in Monster Hunter World, but can you at least put some thought into them? Seriously, look at the armor design. All the armors are amazing, so I don't see any excuse for the weapons being this bland and uninteresting. There are exceptions though, but that's few and far between all the other weapons that the game has to offer. However, there is a way that this design philosophy can work. And it's very simple. Leave the more natural look for the beginning stages of the weapon tiers, or the weapon branches. And with every upgrade, you give it a more unique design that fits with their respective monster, or have it like slowly transform into a more unique design at the end of that weapon's branch. This can give players more of an incentive to keep working for the better weapon of that branch. However, if they choose to either give each monster's weapons a unique design or use what we've just mentioned, I would love it either way. But seeing the new design for the Greatsword during the reveal trailer, I do have some hope that the devs already have this solution in the bag. I am all for the concept of invasive monsters. An endgame level monster that interrupts your hunts, making you fear a potential cart every time they show up. The more popular examples being RageGaming, billybobjho, Seikret from 4U, and more recent examples like Betelgeuse, Crimson Valstrax, and... Hey, why the fuck is Bomborow here? Bomborow. Where do I even begin with this one? Alright, Bomborow as a normal monster is fine on its own. Its armor sets are absolute perfection, but the weapons do leave a lot to be desired. But this monster is treated by the devs as being on the same level as billybobjho and RageGaming. Why? Because Bomborow can be found in every region in Monster Hunter World. There is of course a problem with this. Since its armor set is beginner level for Iceborne, there really isn't any incentive to keep hunting this monster. Unless its weapon branch connects to the branch of a much better weapon, which it doesn't. I also want to mention how Bomborow inhabiting anywhere else except for the Hoarfrost Reach or possibly the Coral Highlands doesn't make any biological sense. The obvious examples are the Wildspire Waste and Elder's Recess. Why is it even there in the first place? The Rotten Vale is out of the question too, so don't think I forgot about that one. Alright, I guess I somewhat understand it being in the Ancient Forest due to the mechanics of the fight and it pushing trees around with its charge attack and rocks and whatever the hell. But I think it's a little too warm for Bomborow's biology, so the Ancient Forest is kind of like in the middle here when it comes to locations that the Bomborow can be able to inhabit without it making zero sense at all. There is at least a biological reason as to why billybobjho and RageGaming are in every region. The billybobjho, it roams the land to consume entire ecosystems to near extinction, all thanks to its high metabolism, while RageGaming can only enter its charged state if it finds and breaks a Kirin's horn and then consumes it. Seething Betelgeuse is also perfect to be an invasive monster, being an older version that grew more advanced, more explosive scales over its lifespan. The reason why it's not an invasive monster is beyond me. Valstrax also has every reason to be an invasive monster, due to it being a living fighter jet fueled by pressurized air mixed with dragon energy, and being that fast holds ground to it being an invasive monster. I'm sorry, Bomborow, but you just got demoted to a normal ice monster. With all this in mind, I have an idea for a unique invasive monster that is perfect for wilds. Since the game may have a more African aesthetic, we may need a scavenger that will keep this changing ecosystem in balance. Let's have a reference image for such a monster. Coolio. So, my idea is that this flying wyvern will fly all across the Forbidden Lands, finding or snatching every possible carcass it can find. It is also capable of consuming rotten meat as well, and with its more powerful stomach acid, it uses the build-up gases as a powerful breath weapon. Not only will this weapon give the miasma effect, but also poison, smell, defense down, and pretty much any element or ailment of any monster it consumes throughout the fight. This adaptation will give this creature, that I will happily name Afuna Akufa, the ability to survive the ever-changing landscape that it calls home. I don't know if they're planning on a new invasive monster, but what do you all think of Afuna Akufa? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Obviously, there are many concerns with Monster Hunter Wilds and its release, but I'm not able to talk about them all without this video reaching at most an hour long. But despite everything I talked about here, I love this franchise to death, and I'm ecstatic about Wild's release in what will most likely be January of next year. But I want to know what you guys think in the comments. I do read as many comments as I can, so please do not hesitate in putting your ideas out on the table. Even if you disagree in certain sections, or even the whole video, or even the entire video, please don't hesitate. Alright, I'm gonna head out for this one. Thank you all so much for listening to my thoughts, and I hope you guys are just as excited about Monster Hunter Wilds as I am. This is your host of the CaleoGaming official channel, and I hope you all have a good start to your summer.